Finally, Sever is super strong, as it should be, and that is all thanks to a brand new aspect they put into the game. Let me show you what it exactly does. If you throw a normal Sever, it goes forward and comes back. Fantastic. Now the new aspect reads, Sever no longer returns and instead splits into 3 specters that expand out and back from its apex. Sever deals 180% of normal damage. This is not the max, the maximum being up to 240%. Sounds like a lot, but it's actually needed. Now, if you throw out a Sever, it splits into these 3 specters and they all hit everything in the middle. And in order to truly have it pop off, we currently have the Grace of the Empty Tomb equipped. That's for Sever projectiles to cast twice, but it's also for the Sever size. So we're having this split up, 240%, Sever projectiles cast twice, Sever projectiles cast twice, that I'm essentially able to throw in to have this Sever happen double, but also that the Sever ghosts are big enough to essentially hit everything in the middle, which leads to incredible damage. Now we have another thing though that makes this cool, and that is Soulrift. Soulrift is the brand new ultimate that our Necromancer has received down here, and you can put 5 points into it, plus we're getting a 30% multiplier to all our damage. What? Yes, your Sever gets a 30% damage multiplier. Oh, and when you cast your ulti every 8 seconds, that's another 15%. So your Sever that is getting 240% is getting another 45% just with these, Finality and Supreme Soulrift. Now, what does Soulrift do? Soulrift rips the soul out every 0.25 seconds, and I get 2 essence and barrier. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that happens 4 times per second. Okay? And if you're doing it versus a boss, you rip out 3 souls every soul rip. So every 0.5 seconds, you get 6 essence and 6% barrier. That's 24 essence and 24 barrier every second. To make a boss target dummy just to show you, we essentially curse, so it's cursed, right? Cooldown reduction. Then we activate the Soulrift and we just spam our Sever away. In between, we can threaten corpse explosions to get our flesh eater going, and then we're just absolutely never running out of essence. And due to the cooldown reduction that is happening, our Soulrift ends and we get our Soulrift again, and the 15% damage multiplier is still persisting. We even tried this with a Crown of Lucian, which I only have as a legacy item. If we could, with a bonus of resource, actually still be able to infinite essence spam just with the essence that we're getting from Soulrift. And it does work because Sever is so cheap, it costs only 20 essence. And with the squish of the Ring of the Starless Skies, you can get it down to 10 and then 150% up with the Crown of Lucian. If you drink an elixir of resourcefulness on top to reduce your cost by another 20%, that is even easier possible to just spam away. With the elixir, no Starless and no Lucian, you can even do it without. A very interesting thing about Soulrift, it lasts for 8 seconds, unless we're going to put on pants with Soulrift duration, gloves with Soulrift duration, a chest can have Soulrift duration, a helmet can have it as well, but we have total armor right now, and yes, the amulet can have Soulrift duration too, boosting that up to a grand total of 14.13 seconds. And that's not all of it, because there's a brand new helmet called the Unmaker. And what it does is quite intense. We're getting the Soulrift duration increased by 0.5 seconds for every 30 essence you spend while it's active up to 8 seconds. As we're spamming, we're getting that. Damage reduction while having barrier, imperfectly balanced, so our core skill damage is hitting even harder, resource generation, and then 3 ranks to Soulrift for even more cooldown reduction. But the interesting part is, Soulrift deals 200% of its shadow damage per second to surrounding enemies for every 30 essence you gain while it's active. So if we have a lot of resource generation, if we're soaking the enemy empty, it pulls us out critical strike able booms just from the shadow damage you're juicing up anyways, because this does 10,000 shadow damage per second, right? That shadow damage is being boosted by all your multiplier by your skill tree with the Gloom, with the Terror, with the Supreme Soulrift, and all that kind of stuff. With your Glyph that gives you bonus shadow damage as well. With your Sacrifice that's going for another 30% shadow damage. And then that pulls us out like a bam. And since we want to crit as high as possible with the Sever, that Unmaker works as well. Don't worry, I'll have an Unmaker update as I don't have the item yet, but it's a good plan. Now let me show you how the gameplay loop kinda works, because it is so nasty automatic and you don't really have to do that much. We're gonna activate Soulrift and then we're essentially just spamming our Sever. In between, we pull everything together and every now and then explode a corpse to actually get the bonus damage from the Fueled by Death. If you want to, you can explode 5 corpses and keep on going. Now, as you can see, we're just really shredding everything and our cooldown gets reset like there's no tomorrow. That's already the Soulrift instantly back up. I actually had it back up way earlier. So we can truly get this at least every 14 seconds roll in. And the more persistent your enemies are, the stronger your enemies are, the easier you do actually get the Soulrift reset, because you're literally getting more lucky hits off. I mean, right now in this one, we're actually killing things too fast. And, well, we're not getting the maximum out of the Soulrift, but there it's reset as we still have it running, right? We can straight up pop it again and work on the next reset. And we don't have to curse. I mean, technically, we could now put the aspect of the cursed aura away, but that means you do actually have to care about cursing every single time instead of just running forward, only doing your corpse tendrils to pull things together, and then your corpse explosions again in between to get that 9% damage multiplier, or 5 corpses for the 40% damage multiplier. But I'm mostly reserved for bosses or ginormous packs of elites, because in the lower torment dungeons you really don't need it to actually zoom fast through things. And if you're wondering about the boss damage, let's get to that really quickly, that we can actually destroy the boss. And before you're asking, can you actually play this while leveling? Would this be a levelable build? Yes, because Sever can really nicely be paired together with minions. Because Sever right now, together with the Soulrift, can be our source of vulnerable, because yes, Soulrift also makes things vulnerable, among providing us with infinite barrier, right? Which is kind of nice. But if you level, your minions are actually multiplicative, scaling up your Sever damage. Then you can use your skeletal mages as an essence production machine in the cold state and essentially play very comfortable Sever minions like that to level, which does boast quite some good area and also single target damage. It has been done in prior seasons already, but I think in this season it might be even better, especially we're getting a seasonal journey build again, right? Blizzard always gives you one seasonal journey build, and as they're taking so much effort in their hand to actually buff Sever, maybe that's going to be our seasonal journey build, and actually doing these seasonal check marks will provide us with what we're looking for. Now we're at the achievement router. Our Soulrift is still active. Now it's gone. You notice how our essence actually goes empty. Let's let it go empty. He doesn't have that much HP. Let's run around for 5 seconds quickly here. Curse. Get some cooldown reduction in. Get our thing up. Now we have infinite essence, right? And I'm essentially just going to stand on him, spam Sever, explode my corpses for the 5-time stack, do my corpse tendrils to get the multiplier, and then the Soulrift just keeps me completely topped up with health, barrier, everything, vulnerable, damage multiplier, essence, and I can just go away. And if I get now the Unmaker, it's even more infinite. If I actually had a set of total armor here, the Soulrift duration, it's even more infinite. You can't run out. And the crazy part is we're using the essence glyph, and we can obviously level this up all the way to 100, right? So we're getting the crazy critical strike damage with the 22% multiplier with increased critical strike damage by another 15% at level 46. So alone this will make Sever go super bonkers that you can then rampage torment for everything into pieces. Same goes for Eliminator, for example, which gives us the 10% to elites and then later another 15% to elites. Another crazy multiplier. And then you have two choices. You could take Scourge, which for every 5 in purchase within range, you deal 5% increased shadow damage over time. But that's only for the Soulrift. But you and your minions deal 10% increased damage to enemies affected by shadow damage over time with another 10%. But we could go for Darkness 2. For every 5 in, you get bonus shadow damage. And that shadow damage is Sever, but also Soulrift. Because Soulrift is shadow damage over time, but it is shadow damage. So that's getting boosted. And it would be another damage reduction. Plus then increased shadow damage by another 10%. That works plenty well. And we're even using the new Key Passive. Since which Key Passive are you going to use in a Sever build? Usually it would be Shadow Blight. To get these Shadow Blight procs with the Soulrift, creating some bonus damage boosts. But we're not actually playing the Blighted aspect because it got nerfed so heavily. And that 240% damage multiplier from the Reaping Lotus, that one is just so much better than anything Blighted can offer. Rather gonna play, your curses give you 50% bonus shadow damage, multiplicative. Done. No, don't have to think about stacking any kind of Blight aspect. And that's where the new Affliction Key Passive comes in. Enemies affected by vulnerable, crowd control, or shadow damage over time. Oh, shadow damage over time, you say? Soulrift. Take 15% increased damage. Not a lot. And also, your curse skills deal shadow damage when applied to afflicted enemies. So, technically, our curse aura is now applying Decrepify and also Iron Maiden. You could even put points into Enhanced Iron Maiden and Abhorrent Iron Maiden, because then whenever something dies, it would heal you. But that heal's a bit useless right now as we're having full burial all the time due to Soulrift. Still though, we're getting 15% more damage. And our curses do a little bit damage, so that's that. Otherwise, there would be not a single key passive for me to take. And now with this 15% more damage, then the 15% more damage from the finality, right? As we're casting our ultimate skills, 30% more from the Supreme Soulrift. Then we actually do have the Gloom and the Terror. Both are stacking up and working together with our Sever as well. We get more lucky hit chance that we can get more cooldown reduction. And on top, all our damage is actually making even more barrier. I'm pretty sure we don't even need the points in Necrotic Fortitude anymore. Neither do we actually need Ghastly Blood Mist and Enhanced Blood Mist. So that gives us more points to spend. We have one single one in Corpse Explosion that we can actually do Fueled by Death for that 9%. You get all the points into Sever, and you notice it's only 5 out of 5. I haven't even picked another core skill bonus up yet. And the Unmaker gave us Imperfectly Balanced to boost our Sever damage even more, and that's 3 ranks to Imperfectly Balanced Unmaster worked. Whew. Yeah, we do make corpses, so we could play also the Gravekeeper Glyph for another 18% damage multiplier, so that's kind of cool. And as we're standing super close to our opponents at any moment, maybe getting the Death Embrace for the bonus damage reduction might be a thing in the future to take care of. We're also fortified with the Necrotic Carapace as we're making corpses, and that fortification gives us another 18x multiplier versus elites. And in the Paragon board, you do actually have the Frailty. So you can only take 5 boards now, right? 5 boards is the max. We do have the Flesh Eater for that 40% multiplier. And then we get the Frailty board. Cursed enemies take 10% damage from you and your minions, up to 40%. We always curse, so that's another 40% with a 40% multiplier. And interestingly enough, it does have a node for attack speed and maximum life. Huh? I mean, yeah, don't mind if I get another 10% attack speed like that. That's killer. Adding Scent of Death for the bonus damage reduction, or if we do explode the corpses way, 15% more damage, but we mostly just have corpses around. And the cool thing is with 300 Paragon points, I don't have 300 right now, correct? We can finally take all the critical strike damage that we want, right? Every critical strike damage that's lying around can be taken, right? Every single node, every single little additive damage. I've been even thinking about adding Wither to this because your shadow damage over time bonuses have a chance to deal bonus damage. And as we always have the Soulrift active, it wouldn't hurt to just have it activated. It's just simple bonus damage from it, especially since you kind of want this board, because the board currently provides us with damage reduction from enemies affected by shadow damage over time. So that's cool. Then we get another maximum life if we want to. Technically, we could take shadow damage over time because, I mean, hell, we are using the Soulrift. The Soulrift does the Unmaker pulses later, and it's bonus shadow damage as well, as the shadow damage over time actually does push our affliction higher, so our curse does even more damage too. It's all just bonus DPS end of the day, but the cool part is this is now shadow damage, and this is damage to shadow damage over time, right? Damage to shadow damage, damage to shadow damage over time. And you could put, for example, the sacrificial glyph in the middle, which gives me 10% more damage while you have no active minions. Cool. Grants 120 bonus to all magic nodes. That's the glyph currently being level 16. The glyph goes up to level 46 for legendary, and then gives us another 10% damage increase. And then it goes up to 100, and in total, it's going to be like a 500% increase to all magic nodes, giving us shadow damage, shadow damage, shadow damage, shadow damage, damage to shadow damage over time, damage to shadow damage, you know? That one just being boosted into absolute madness. That goes, by the way, for all the boosting things. If you're playing something like Amplify for the bonus damage to curse skills, and then we're actually taking damage to injured enemies and just the 20% more damage, and you're just juicing that up later to 500% more. Obviously, it feels better to take a glyph like Essence and then try to find as much dexterity around as possible. Because if this Essence goes in the 46 radius, like you can take this dexterity here. We have all the dexterity in the area, right? This dexterity can be taken. This might not even be the best board for this, as we have probably this one with a lot more dex, especially with the dex that's really like the glyph range. This is only a 15 of 46, should almost reach back here. So he could take all the like really wide arcing out ones to get, like, maybe this one might even be better because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the planner in the description below has everything optimized if you do want to try this out on the PDR to get hyped essentially for what Sever now has to offer. And before you ask, how do Tormented Bosses feel? We're currently in a T3. And don't forget, from tier 1 on, you can get all the endgame loot, so you technically never have to go further. But in tier 3, they do actually drop 3 unique items, so you kind of want to kill them there. But yes, Tormented Bosses do feel fantastic. Can't actually wait to level up my glyphs further to really do the absolute endgame monstrous damage that this build has to offer. But we're now in tier 3. I'm moving myself really quick to Zer. It costs 12 exquisite blood. There's no like tormented summon, as well, they're all tormented now. They just get higher with the higher will tier. We summon him, activate Soulrift, and then just corpse tendrils, dash through his shit, corpse explosion for the 40% multiplier, just stack that up, corpse tendrils again for the superb damage. Try that his like weird ass claws are not hitting you. But yeah, I mean, with his Soulrift up, you're again providing this eternal barrier. We are having infinite resource, right? Our essence is just, well, we can't be stopped, right? We just get the essence going on, and you're just rinsing him down. That's it. Soulrift about to go down. Soulrift back up again. And every single Sever projectile is actually hitting him. Now, I'm still hoping to actually get new Grease of the Empty Tomb, as I do want to see how the real ones are actually looking, because we're obviously having the Legacy Grease of the Empty Tombs currently working. Go into Blood Mist to avoid him killing you, and we win. Ta-da! Ladies and gentlemen, done. That's now 3 unique items, and they're not dropping as ancestrals always, so that can be a pain. But hey, I at least got the Crew's Embrace, so we can now test the Blood Surge build if it still works. Whee! Can't wait for that. Let's fucking go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about Sever? Does this have your interest? Does this look like something we could be playing in Season 6? I think this might develop into my new favorite build as I see the full potential it does actually have. And again, we're not done. I'm going to drop the Unmaker version as soon as I have the Unmaker with the cheat vendor to really show you what is actually possible. Now, enjoy everything new in Season 6. This changes everything. 15 things you should know. Have a fantastic good day. And thanks for watching.